his head, and there he goes. Abyss gonna clean him up.
Olaf goes down. Everyone's just gonna line up here for Lazzy. He's gonna find himself the Quadra. Give it to him. Pentakill.
Priestley with the quad feed.
Gets the ace. Available, just spin to win all over.
That game was insane.
Hello, welcome everybody to the St. Clair Saints Esports Teams channel here. Of course, Saints Gaming CA. Oh god, we're starting things off great here. But anyway, we're going to get into the action. We have ourselves Play versus Trios Fortnite action, the actual season opener. Looking forward to this matchup. My name is Dan Banner, also known as Mr. Danners, and today we have ourselves either 3 hours of action or 10 matches. Depends on what happens here. The players tonight for our St. Clair squad up against a lobby full of collegiate and maybe a couple sneaky high schoolers about to go down as we have Sirius, we have Lasix, and Junie. Point of views today, we actually have two. We have one from, of course, Coach Captain Siri as well as Junie here, as we do see some early skirmishes happening. A couple people really trying to get aggressive here with the St. Clair squad, as it's going to be actually Siri. He drops down here after the Saints do manage to knock two, but they have not quite finished the job just yet. And, okay, there we go. They do end up finishing the one. There's still one player still battling him out. Not going to happen. Gets taken down nice and quick. And already some decent differences coming out here between the, excuse me, between the two teams, or between the teams that we've have here in this lobby. Much difference compared to last time. Before, Saints basically got to land here for free, basically every single time, uncontested, maybe one team at most, and they were able to just farm up as they pleased. And we already see a couple teams looking to contest them here at this little house on the far west. So interesting to see. Saints are going to, of course, get the better of the opponents in that engagement. It looks like there is, in fact, 2 points here on the side of the Saints. It's trying to keep track of all action that did end up going down. Well, Junie farms up with Lasix nearby. We're going to have Siri over in the beach trying to loot up as much as possible. Not much gas in that transport, so they're not going to be able to take that very far. And they're probably going to wait for Siri here. That is, of course, the big transport truck that'll load you up full of shields. So, going to wait for Siri. There he is. He is sitting there at 30 health. Of course, he did get knocked in that initial engagement, but was able to get picked back up. Thankfully, for the side of St. Clair, did not want to go down a player extremely early. Now with the Saints nearby, there we go. They're going to get themselves up to full shields, and they're pretty well good to go. The storm this time by is not going to go into their favor, as they're going to have to go travel up to the northeast in order to get themselves into the storm's safe zone. Basic Siri going to charge up first. Of course, these vehicles make tons of noise, so they're going to be definitely letting everybody know that their presence is around. But is there anybody even here? I don't necessarily think so in this situation. It is going to be Siri hopping on in, loading up with as much loot as possible. This place basically seems untouched, so quite nice. Has himself the blue assault rifle, so it's always a good start, and some decent healing utility as well. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what Junie is currently packing with. Does have the green, I think it's the heavy AR instead. A little bit better at tackling some of those, some walls and some buildings. Siri still in the castle. Junie not too far away as well. They're just going to quickly transfer their items. Make sure everybody's loaded up and good to go. Say hello to the gnome. Level that shotgun up. That was a gray at one point. So now Siri able to get himself a nice blue rarity level shotgun. Much better compared to what he used to have. And now the Saints, they're going to have to get moving very, very shortly. The storm going to be underway, on its way to try and close up the zone, of course. Of course, this, like I say time and time again here, this first initial storm surge, it takes a very long time to actually make it to where the Saints are, so they're definitely going to take their time in regards to loading up on as much brick as possible. This castle here is absolutely perfect in this scenario, and they're going to load up on some other artillery as well, finish up with the gnome, and then get their way underway here. Of course, one thing to take note of as we do go along here in this PlayVS series, if you didn't join us last week, and we're kind of left in the dark in regards to how this is going down. So for Fortnite competitive, it is a bit of a mixture between trying to survive as long as possible, but also by getting as much kills, as much eliminations as possible in each game. As you do get 2 points per kill, but you can only get up to 20 points as a team every single game. So 10 kills and you're basically capped there. So best case scenario, find yourself 10 kills and just try to survive as far as possible, and then you'll find yourself on top of the leaderboards here in this PlayVS Trio season nice and quickly. Saints finally on the move, going to be making their way over to Sweaty Sands, where as of right now it doesn't look like this area has even really been touched in regards to looting. So they're going to be able to make their way through the site, get themselves all situated, and rather quietly and easily add to that. So and here I am thinking it was going to get chaotic to start with after that first initial skirmish, but then ever since that first battle, it's then turned to Farmville. But that's okay. It may sound like I'm cursing them for that, but no, that's exactly what they have to do here in this game. They do have to make sure that they are loaded up on as much resources as possible, because we've seen time and time again during the preseason that once it gets to the point where that storm safe zone is so small that they can't really do much about it, or that they can't really move, you have no time to go and farm more resources. You have to stick with what you have at that moment. And if you're not maxed out with like 20 people left in the game, then you're probably not going to be long for this world. There is a care package actually dropped just to the north of where the Saints are. I'm curious if they're going to actually go for this here. It does look like they're going to think about it. It is going to be Siri trying to drop it down. They are right on the fringe of the storm. We can see it kind of just in the background. Who's going to find it? It is going to be Siri who's going to get to it first. Just confident enough to take care of it without actually building any sort of safety. Nobody else was hunting them. And that's a nice little pickup there for Siri. Does, of course, have that golden scar, golden assault rifle. So one of the best guns, I think, here in the game in regards to damage and control. Lots of players really like that weapon. So I'm sure Siri extremely happy about that one. Next set, or the next storm is about to get moving once again. Saints aren't going to be able to stay here, so they're going to basically rinse and repeat until they get a little bit closer to the point of engagement. We do see, I think this is for Junie's situation here, basically 500 on everything. Let's hop on over again to Siri a moment, see where they're sitting. Just needs a little bit of brick, and then he'll be maxed up as well. So Saints looking good in regards to resources. Their weaponry isn't too bad as well. Junie doesn't necessarily have himself a perfect weapon setup, but it's enough to get the job done. Got the assault rifle for the long range. You have the shotgun for close range. And you have a bunch of potions, and you of course have that harpoon for some long range weapon grabbing later on in those insane skirmishes. Unless you can find yourself a fish or something you want to fish out with that harpoon at some point. I mean, we did see during the preseason last week where some of the games can just turn into a healing standoff. And sometimes having that extra fish might be the difference between winning and losing an entire round. Speaking of fish, it looks like that's exactly what was on Siri's mind. Does have that blue fish in his inventory for the later games as this starts to get into a skirmishy zone as we now make our way to Pleasant Park, which is right around the corner to where the storm is. But now, of course, it gets a little bit quicker. So it's going to start getting a little bit more nerve-wracking here. We do see, of course, Junie and Lasix going to lead the charge here in the truck. Siri's going to be a little bit behind, but trying to really hustle their way in. Are they going to try and maybe make a fort in the safe zone before everybody else shows up? Might be an interesting idea, but do you want to commit those resources before you know where the storm is really going to get started off with? While they figure out where they want to go, Siri also found himself a car going across the bridge. Fuel up. And going to turn this gas station into a bit of a fort for at least the time being. I don't think you want to take down the pillar. I feel like that would be really bad for structural integrity. But who needs structural integrity when you need one more scoop of materials? May not have necessarily been loot here, but of course just resources for days. Siri completely loaded up. Where's Junie's situated? Completely loaded up. So Saints looking good, and they're actually going to use this gas station, it looks like, as a temporary home of sorts. Basically in the middle of the storm as of this moment, so not too bad actually. I mean, it's not optimal. The way they have it set up right here, it's not going to make for like a sniper tower or anything like that, which will definitely like hinder their aggressive opportunities, but this will push them forward later and later into the game. We do see up on the top right there by the mini-map, 48 players still left in this game. Heard that noise, was wondering if that was shots fired, but it's not going to be the case. And then up in the top, we're going to have Junie playing as the, what was it that I called it again last week? Playing the prairie dog. That's what it was. Just up top, trying to keep everybody safe in regards to sending out intel, keeping an eye on the other buildings. Lasix almost finding Siri with the front end of his car, but... Or was that Junie? No, almost finding Junie with the front end of that car. That would have been kind of funny, but Siri already halfway down, looking to move again. Oh, hops in the car right in the nick of time, actually, because somebody was opening fire up on the hills. We have some shots fired here from Junie. Going to try and find himself a sneaky shot, but not going to find contact. Shots fired heavily into the Saints' car. Siri hops on out, starts building. Junie is short to follow as well. Siri, of course, in the play versus solos, was doing an absolutely fantastic job individually. Was able to get himself fourth in the solos on, I think it was either Monday or Tuesday. And you can definitely tell with how quick he's able to get these forts built up that it's definitely one of the big reasons why he can keep himself alive in engagements where he basically gets jumped on. Siri getting extremely confident, though, able to just go back and start loading up on more materials, build a house, get all those resources right back. Junie's still inside, keeping an eye on the sniper towers. Siri still keeping tabs on the towers. Siri on the low ground. There was a couple sniper shots fired, but it did not make any contact here with our Saints, so they are A-okay for the time being here at least. And of course, a relatively quiet start to or a relatively quiet game after a very skirmishy start. The Saints put themselves in fantastic position. It's going to be Lasix actually, who's got a sniper rifle in hand. Going to try and pepper down on some of these players looking to build around them. Storm is just about 40 seconds away from completely getting to the new standpoint. The Saints will get to figure out again whether or not they have to actually move going into this next round. You can see here from Junie's vision that more and more players coming in, bringing in their own their huts of sorts. Just a couple huts next to each other, not opting to go very high. They're all going to be waiting to see what this next Eye of the Storm ends up bringing us here. Just a moment, we will find out, of course. 3, 2, 1, and they're in the safe zone. We see Siri definitely keeping an eye on that map. Must be a small sigh of relief, knowing that you don't necessarily have to force your hand, not yet anyway. They might try to opt to move towards the center anyway. Would be a bit of an aggressive move, but we'll have to see what they opt to do. This could be the chance here for Saints. We see Junie gonna get a couple shots in on one of the players pushing forward, but not going to find contact. Going to try and destroy the floor beneath it, try to knock that entire building down. Yeah, both Siri and Junie opting to just duel here with this player. And there he goes, exposes himself after the floor goes down. Not going to get any contact. Lasix up in the high ground with Siri and Junie. Relatively low at this point here. But more and more teams seem to be showing up on the site. It's starting to get to the point where it's going to get messy. 47 players still here in this small area of the Storm. These Fortnite matches usually start off slow, but then they end up absolutely explosive. I would expect nothing less here for this first game here tonight. Now, of course, your opening predictions here in the Twitch chat is whether the Saints will start off their season here tonight with a top 10 finish in regards to placement, not necessarily in regards to points. So a lackluster kill game can still earn them a top 10 in regards to survival. That's what we'll be aiming at for here today. See just constant forts in the horizon. A couple players actually do end up getting knocked down. But the storm is coming. There's actually a care package in the middle of the, or rather in the northwestern area of this Eye of the Storm. Will anybody be brave enough to actually go for that? That would be almost suicidal, I would feel like. Lasix firing back a little bit, and here we go. Okay, so it's starting to get into what I always call the chaos time, because once that Eye of the Storm starts getting into a position where it's going into itself, where you can't originally set up ahead of time, that's when all the mobility has to come out. This is where all of your quickest builders will get the opportunity to try and find themselves an engagement. This is going to be Siri tagging a player for a lot of shields, but not taking them down just yet. Junie right behind a couple of these players flying. A huge headshot actually coming out here from Siri, but not enough to take the player down. They move more and more closer towards that Eye of the Storm, but still a very exposed situation here for our Saints squad. They do find themselves the high ground. If they can keep it, it's exactly where they want to be. Currently at the highest point of this battlefield, at least for the moment. Siri leading the way. Saints trying to get closer and closer. Just right around the corner. That's some huge damage coming out here from Siri. Is it going to be enough to finish the job? Not quite. Junie right there on hot pursuit. Lasix is here as well. Just going to completely keep themselves nice and close. I'm glad that they're not necessarily separating themselves here in this game. It's an easy way to get yourself picked off. So we do see the battle continue here. It's going to be Junie opening fire onto one of the players below the steps. Lasix takes a little bit of damage in regards to his shields, but does have some healing available. The team is going to back him up nice and quick as well. They've now made it inside the safe zone, so at least for the time being, they can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief. But as soon as this storm gets back to its new size, it's going to move again, and this is where it usually gets really, really nuts. We're going all the way into the storm for this next one. The teams are going to have to travel with the storm in order to make something happen. That is going to be Siri actually leading the charge and trying to give his team a pathway. Junie short to follow. Lasix close by as well. And just going to sit themselves right on the very edge of this storm. Lasix down. Junie has gotten himself caught somewhere. Gets taken down. Rough spot here for the Saints to try and possibly get him picked up. Not a comfortable position to be in, however. Junie is there with Siri. Siri looking to possibly pick him up, but does he have enough time? I don't think he has enough time. Somebody is peppering him from the high grounds. He's going to try and hunt somebody down actually here with the shotgun. Not going to quite get the best fit, however. Does get a shot to the face. Does end up keeping his shields up, though. Junie still down on the low ground. I think he's basically left for dead at this point. I'm just trying to help call some shots here with the rest of the Saints squad at this point, as he is eventually going to get shut down. He is in the storm. He is going to go down. More shots here. There's a good knock from Siri. Where in the world is Lasix? Right beside him, actually. Really trying to pepper this person down. Both of them neck and neck here with each other. Now, if this does get to the point where it becomes a heal off, who are they going to invest in right now? It's actually may not even be able to get to that point. We see Siri going to find himself caught out after Lasix does, and it is going to be the Saints finding themselves in 14th position after round number 1, at least in regards to positioning. How many points did they get? We will not know quite yet, but that was an okay one, I would say, there for the Saints to start things off. It wasn't necessarily what they would want, other than that first initial skirmish, and I think there was one elimination at the very end there that Siri was able to capitalize on. There was not a whole heck of a lot else that the St. Clair squad were able to muster up in regards to action, so they didn't get a whole heck of a lot of points in regards to eliminations. And then, of course, it would have been 14th in that situation. Let's actually take a look. I do have this one actually fixed up and set up this time. In regards to how does the league work here for Play versus Fortnite Trios. So your positioning itself, if they were in 14th, so they would have gotten 1 point for making it past 30 to 22nd. Then they get 2 points for going 21st all the way then to top 14. So they're going to mess up themselves at least a decent chunk of points, but not as much as I'm sure they would have wanted to. I'm seeing they have 32 points total here. Excuse me. 32 points after that first initial round, and that is going to put them 4th actually in this play versus session as of right now. But of course, this was just game number 1. You have a maximum of 10 games that you can play, or a maximum of 3 hours if your games always go to the late game. If you're constantly surviving, you may not get 10 games. You might only just get the 3 hours because everything just takes so long. So you have to kind of mix and match here. For some of these games where you don't necessarily get the most amount of eliminations, but you've finished in top 10, are you missing out on possible points because you're staying in there so late but you're not getting eliminations? And do you opt to have like a round or two where you just go guns blazing, drop it to an area where you know it's going to be busy and just try to have a shootout? These are the kind of things, of course, that this St. Clair squad have to think about going into these next couple of rounds. Of course, they've definitely got a lot of rounds on their hands, and we're going to take ourselves a quick breather before we hop into game number 2, just waiting for the next matchmaking queue to start. Since it won't take long, hang in tight. We'll get ready for game number 2 in just a moment.